Tony. So I just did Tony Hancock, and I sent it to him out of desperation. He went, perfect, got it. He never knew I was doing Tony Hancock, but sometimes there's just a key to it that you need,
Yeah.
that and it drops into place, and then bang, you're away and you've got it, and it's exactly what they were looking for. They can't always explain exactly what they want, but they know it when they hear it.
Right, right. And you actually point out something in good writing, and I had to learn this myself. When I send stuff to you, I'm already thinking in the writing how it's going to sound in audio. And a good writer should develop the characters enough where you know who's speaking without chronically having to say, he said, she said, they explain. Because I use
Yeah.
it now, I didn't in the beginning, as minimally as possible. Because I'm like, if the reader can't figure out who's talking, I've done something wrong. So,
And I find that, because my eyes can skip ahead. I mean, I read it off the computer, and I have, I have this computer, and I have the audio software at the bottom, and I have the manuscript at the top. So I'm reading it off, and I can see that it's recording okay. And I can skip ahead a little bit to see who said, but I can't go like to the next page because I haven't scrolled down that far yet. But someone who's a good writer, I don't need to, because I can see from the words who says that,
yeah,
because that's how they speak. You can see it. And it
yeah,
makes it easier to do because you don't have to go back and go, oh, I thought that was him and it was him. I have to go back and re-record it as a different character. Yeah. But the ones that, like your ones, the ones that are really well written, they're much easier to do.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
That's
And I'm
fun.
glad you talked about the process because for writers, if somebody wants a 1,200 word article, it might take somebody 10 minutes to read it. So they assume it takes the writer 10 minutes to write it. So
Yeah.
when they hear an hour finished product,
Oh, finished audio. Yeah. Well, that takes
yeah,
a lot because there'll be the time before you record it when you look it over and you're looking for who the characters are and you're playing with a few things. And then you'll record it. And I use a thing called punch and roll, which means if I slip up or make a mistake, I stop and I go back and I drop in from that point onwards. So you can't hear it, but I don't just have a bash and then go and try and fix
right.
it all later by listening to it. However, last few months I've started using a program. I don't know if you've heard it. It's called Positron. Some authors use it too, and it's an AI. I know that's a dirty word, but it's an AI that listens to what you've recorded and reads along and finds any mistakes that you've made. So if you pronounce a word wrong or you miss a word
Yeah.
or
So it's
something,
like
it
a
finds
spell
them.
check for authors or for narrators. It's like your
Yeah,
version of a spell or
yeah.
grammar
It's
check.
it's not cheap though. I just got the bill for last month because you pay by the minute that you get it to check, and it was $158 for last month. I got the bill today, like only a few
Okay.
hours ago. So it's not cheap, but it really is quite accurate. And I use that a lot with religious books because some books there's a certain amount of license, because if there's a character that you know how they speak and you read the words on the page and he says something like I did not do that. If you think, well, that's not how he'd speak, he'd say, I didn't do that. So you'll change it. It's not
Or with
exactly as
a
is,
little different
but
with the
with
Bible.
yeah, you
Hezekiah's and the
can't. No,
Ezekiel's and
it
the
has to be
Habakkuk's.
exact. It has to be exactly right.
Yeah.
So I always have to use it for that because I find myself, and that's probably from radio, from reading live commercials in radio. You try to make them sound as conversational as possible, like it's you recommending the product.
Yeah.
And so you'll look at it and you'll automatically do that and I did that for years, particularly in Australia where we read a lot of live copy. I did that for a lot of years, and I think I still do that a little bit with the dialogue sections in audiobooks to make them sound more real. And you can't do that with religious books,
No.
and yeah, and certain historical ones as well like to be very accurate. But I run everything through the positron now to make sure that everything's good. So that's even more time it takes because you have to load it up and then you wait. Like I put a chapter on this morning that was about 40 minutes of audio, and the positron took about 10 minutes to go through and check it and then say it's ready to check now. And then you go into the positron and it gives you the time in the audio where the thing needs changing and go in. And this was a military book, and there's a lot of
Gotcha.
abbreviations and military jargon and stuff, and a lot of place names in France, Malta, Italy. It's a Second World War book, and so it helps out with things like that. Yeah. So
That's yeah.
so all that takes time. So basically, I'm talking to you now at it's 1:30 my time. I started work this morning at 6 a.m. and I have done a lot of work on some other books that were going backwards and forwards and loading them. And I've done some website work and whatever. But the bottom line is I've only done 40 minutes of audio today. I mean, if I really wanted to do it quickly, but I think it'd still take, 2 or 3 hours
Yeah.
to get that if I wasn't doing all the other bits and pieces I was doing. So yes, so one finished hour is not 1 hour's worth of work. So when people find out what you charge per finished hour, they go, geez, that's a hell of an hourly rate. It's not.
Right. Right. And that's so interesting because I'm a nerd and I edit for people in developmental editing. All the things that you're saying that the positron looks for, I've been manually fact checking. Like, how do
No, this
you
will be quicker
how do
than
you
that. This will be
abbreviate that according to Chicago manual style? So it's interesting. The process is similar for audio. So you mentioned,
go check them out. Positron. It's with it. They're all O's. Posotron. Check
yeah,
it out. And I'm not getting paid this. I wish I was. They should give me a free month for
they
this.
should.
Yes.
But
But
since you're
anyway, but it's
mentioning
not
AI,
cheap. Yeah.
yeah, you're mentioning AI. That's a good use of
Yes.
AI. But the weird thing I'm noticing, like on YouTube now, where people will say it's a human voice, like
Yeah.
they have to tell you that. What do you think about the trends with the non-human voices?
Well, I think pointing it out is silly. And the reason for that is I was nominated this year at the Vox Awards, Voiceover Awards in the UK, for Best Human Audiobook Narration, as if somehow humans were inferior to AI. I know they've put it in there to make the point that humans are better than AI, but by doing it that way, it makes it look like, oh, if we let AI in, no one would win. That's what it looks like, but it isn't true. But so it's just a silly name for an award. So using that human thing, I think, is silly. However, I think there is a place for AI
Mhm.
audiobooks and for things that are very instructional. And please, please, can AI do recipe books? I did one of them once. Oh, what a horrible thing to do. Hours and hours of ingredients and French names. And is that teaspoon or tablespoon abbreviation? It just
I don't even know how anyone, as a cook, I don't even know how anyone could follow that.
no. I don't even think it's even the best way to do cooking by listening to the recipe. But anyway, I think things like that, there are a lot of terms and technical things and whatever. I think there's probably going to be a place in it. And I think if,
Yeah,
I think humans may well be replaced with that kind of thing. But particularly for fiction books, if you think an AI can understand the nuances in the characters, and particularly with things like comedy or, love stories, and even, very dramatic scenes like
yeah,
battles and sword fights and stuff, or whatever it is, I think I can't see how AI could do. I might be wrong. It might get that advanced. I can't see it. But the other thing is, if you're an author, and you know the time it takes you to write a book.
yeah,
Like, first of all, there's your whole real life before the book that you're using as the influence and experience and all that. And you do that, there's that one we did that's in New York that is set at a time in
yeah,
your life when you were living in New
yeah,
York. And so to have all that reference and all that work and all that input, and then the time you put into sitting down and writing and the discipline it takes and the heartache and the creative process itself, if you've put all that into it, you're then going to get a robot to read your
yeah,
book. And, we talked about if the characters aren't right or the nuance isn't right, or you want to communicate to the narrator that, can you just make this guy just a little bit darker? How can you tell an AI
yeah,
that? If there is absolutely no way an AI could pick up the things you don't say, that um, that even in an email you can read, that yeah, I don't know. The closest I've got to listening to a reasonable amount of AI is sometimes you watch YouTube videos
Yeah.
and you know the narration is
Yeah.
AI because they pronounce words wrong and inflections are wrong and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, it's getting better and better. I think, like most things that came along with technology, we'll use them as tools to do things, but they won't replace everything. I
Yeah.
can't see it.
Well,
There
no,
maybe,
I have
yeah.
to say, in your case, the human award, I have a conspiracy theory that you might be an alien because nobody
Okay.
works as hard as you do, putting in the hours without sleeping. I wonder.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. Maybe I am because um maybe not from another planet, but maybe because I grew up in different, this is the third country I've lived in. You know, I was born here and my parents emigrated to New Zealand and took me with them at 18. And then I met Julie and we moved to Australia together. And then we moved back here. So I've got three passports. I worked on a construction site as a pipe fitter for 3 years on the construction and then on the maintenance side. And, then got into radio, and then all those years and did all that. I don't know. Maybe I'm alien in the fact that there isn't another, there aren't that many people that had all the weird
Yeah.
experiences I've had or have been fired as many times as I've had, because that is an emotional thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have the best family to grow up in, so that probably makes you a bit more sensitive, through your insecurity or whatever that helps with, because I hate to say it, and this really is betrayal of my radio brethren. Some of the worst narrators are guys from the radio
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
just they're doing the radio voice. They're like, I am so happy today. How are you? And, you know, um,
That's fine for a very specific kind of character, but
yes,
that's it.
it is. But then when there's a really good radio consultant called Dan O'Day, and he reckons radio people are terrible at reading commercials. And the exaggerated version he gives is that you say to the radio announcer, "Okay, in this commercial, you're playing the part of a duck." Okay, so just remember that when you read the copy, you are a duck. And so the guy comes on and goes, "Quack, quack."
Quack, I say.
Yes. You know what I mean? So some of them are terrible. Some of the radio people. So I don't always make a big fuss about, yeah, I was on the radio for years. I think I approach radio very differently as well to some people, but that's another story. Yeah.
Okay, just two more quick questions. I know I'm taking up so much of your time, but it's a lot of great information. Can you share the best and worst? Is there a best and worst of what you do?
Well, the best is the lifestyle and the control. Because as long as you hit your deadlines and in what, going on for 5 years now, I've never missed a deadline. Authors have missed deadlines. They haven't checked things in time, whatever, but I've never missed a deadline. And as long as you hit your deadlines, you can plan and control your day the way you want it. And one of the things I started doing very early on was once I'd done the book, I'd interview the author on YouTube to put on my website. Because I was originally doing it hoping that would help me get more work. But what I was doing was helping them promote their audiobooks,
Yeah.
do that for free with them. So in getting to meet authors, which I hadn't really met authors before, other than interviewing them
We
on the
don't come out in
radio.
public very much. It's rare for people to see us.
It's funny though, some don't want to do the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Some say, no, I'd rather just get on with writing. And some of them probably very busy. But getting to meet people like yourself and meet people from around the world, from originally from inside my wardrobe and the lifestyle of it and just that's the best part of it. The worst part, I don't know. Don't know if there's a worst part. Oh, when it goes when it goes horribly wrong. And I've been ripped off a few times, not recently, because I've
Yeah.
got a lot smarter with it now. But I can remember I did a meditation book, and I think it was called 10 1 hour meditations. And so I did this, and I noticed none of them went for an hour, but I put it in anyway. And they were paying me a per finished hour rate, and they were going to pay me
And there's
10.
like 10 minutes of silence during a
Well,
meditation.
no, well, it was just like like one of them was like 14 minutes long. And some of them I was dragging out and doing them slower. And I even went in and tried to digitally alter and slow down the delivery without without
Yeah.
lowering the pitch. And I said to him, I just can't make these 10 hours. You're gonna have to write some more. Oh, that's it now. We're not interested. We're not paying you. And so I'd done, at least 5 hours finished work. Didn't get paid a penny for it, but that hasn't happened for a long time since. And there was another one. There's another one where they gave me the deadline for a long book. I can't remember, it was 8 hours worth of audio. And they gave me the deadline. And I said, that's going to be a bit tight. Can you give me a longer deadline? No, it's a deal breaker. If you can't do it by that deadline, you don't get the work. And it was at a stage when I was just starting out. I said, no, don't worry. I'll do it. Don't worry. I'll do it. And I did it. And they spent twice as long with all the check-in and everything.
Yeah.
So it was like, I mean, they paid and everything, so fine, but why did you push me along if
You're
you
going to
couldn't
take,
you couldn't keep the deadline? I could have told you that. I knew I pulled out all the stops. And I really did on that one. I was like working into the night and I was recording it, and then I was sending it to Julie, my wife, and she was going through and checking. This is pre-positron. She was going through and checking it and everything while I was recording the next one. It was just madness. But then they didn't keep their end of the
yeah.
deal. You know what I mean?
As
That
as
was
a freelance writer back in the day, they hurry up and deliver this press release and all this media kit in like 24 hours, and then we'll pay you in 3 months. You know. Yeah.
Yeah. I
After
haven't
15 emails asking. Yeah.
I haven't really had any trouble apart from the ones when I got ripped off, and that was very few. But I haven't had trouble coughing up with people paying. They're always pretty good because they pay as we go. Each, like I said, it was in sections and 2 hours and stuff. I get them to pay after each section. Just that's why I do that 1 hour. There were two reasons why I do the 1 hour thing. Is like most of the characters have appeared then. It's most of the main characters in it. We make sure that they're right and the place names are not going to change. But so there's a lot in that first
Mhm.
hour, so we can. But also, if they don't pay after that first hour, I've only lost an hour.
Yeah.
Which I haven't lost the whole book. So yeah, but that hasn't happened. And there was one bloke it worked out great, but it was one bloke. I ended up nicknaming the book The Never Ending Story because he just kept writing it. He's like, he'd do it. And I think the book was supposed to be about 3 hours, and it finished up. It's something like, I think it was like 19 or something, because he goes, he'd go, oh, I've got another chapter I want to put in here. And I've got another chapter want to put in here. And I want to put another chapter I want to put in here, which is fine. I'm paid per finished hour. The more you write, the more you pay. So it didn't bother me. But like Julie was saying to me, oh, I'm not sure about this bloke. I said, it doesn't matter. He's paying every time he adds, he's paying by the word, pretty
Yeah.
much. And but it just went on and on and on and on. And the book it's not only that, he was really slow as well. I think the book took about 6 months. It was just ridiculous.
I've had a few projects, editing projects like that. Like, I know you edited it, but I've rewritten this entire chapter a new way, upside down and backwards. Like, okay, it's going to take a little
Yeah,
more time.
yeah, yeah.
All
So,
right,
but
so this is a
that's
little,
real. There's small gripes, but yeah, overall, it's a wonderful thing to do, and to meet so many creative people and help them bring their work to life in audio form. Yeah.
yeah. So this last question is a little off topic, but hopefully I can convince you to come back and chat some more in the future. Somebody
Hmm.
who wants to become a narrator, is there a
Yeah.
little bit of advice you'd give them?
Just do it. Just get on and do it. I get that. I get that all the time. I get like people will email me and say, yeah, I'm thinking of becoming a narrator. What microphone do you recommend? And what's your setup and whatever? And I said, I started off with, no, I did actually buy a mic. This is about my third one now, but I just bought one that was good enough. It
Yeah.
wasn't really, really expensive. It was good enough. and I did it in my wardrobe and I used the computer I already had. I bought a mic and a stand. That was all I bought. It's like it's stop getting into, oh, I need to do this and I need to get this particular microphone and I need to get this computer and I need to get this software. The software I still use to this day is free software. It's Audacity. It's free. It's
Yeah.
good enough. You just get good enough and then just start and just do it. And as you go, you'll learn things that work for you and don't work for you and shortcuts for you. And, you can listen to other audiobook narrators. There's a really good one in America called Scott Brick. Have you heard of Scott?
Mm-mm.
And he was interviewed on some. I watched a lot of when I was starting out, I was watching a lot of YouTube on how do you narrate audiobooks and tips for narrating audiobooks. And there was an interview with Scott Brick, and in it he talks about is like throwing away the he said, she said bit and just getting on with the dialogue. And the way he did it, he actually give an example. He go like somebody there's dialogue and he's saying something like get out of my kitchen, he said. And she and he just he said he just that bit was very, very thrown away because it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? That little bit, instead of going, get out of my kitchen, he said. Well, you don't need you just go, he said.
Yeah.
And then and she said and it just now and again when the dialogue's going backwards and forward quite quickly and there's a rhythm to it, make that the thing and just the other thing just kind of punctuate it. You know what I mean? Make
Yeah.
sure that the focus is on the dialogue. There'll be other bits in the story where you're narrating the scene as it was a dark and stormy night or whatever it is, a cliche thing. But that's when you really will start explaining it. There are times with that, but the bottom line is just get on with it and start doing some. Even if you're like the first few I did were royalty share books from books I didn't know at the time that just didn't sell. But I learned a lot on those,
Yeah.
from doing from the lifestyle of it. And it might turn out that it isn't, you don't like it. You might find out being in a box on your own for hours and hours on end drives you crazy. And you need company, like you need to be in a workplace and an office where there's banter and all the other things. It might but you won't know until you get in, you actually do an audiobook. So this, you know, you could go on ACX tomorrow and audition for books that are royalty share that aren't going to sell, but you'll learn so much. Just you'll learn from doing it. Just
Yeah.
the bottom line is to just get on and do it. Stop waiting for the perfect microphone or the perfect story, even. Don't be too
Yeah.
fussy. It's like if they want a human that's alive and can speak English and whatever, and they like your audition, well, then don't start going, I don't know whether I should, just get on with it. People get out your own way and just start and see how you go. They'll tell you if it's not what they want. You've already passed the audition, so there's something there. And they had choices of other people, and they chose you, so
Yeah.
you're already nearly there. So yeah, the advice would be to just get on and just if somebody wants to do it, to get on and do it.
Yeah, and ACX has a great tutorial. I haven't looked at it in a while, but when I wanted to learn how to do it, I went through step by step, just watched all the videos. So they walk you through the process too, if you feel
I'm,
like I don't even know from an equipment standpoint how to get started.
I'm pretty sure on that Scott Brick interview was an ACX YouTube
Okay.
thing that they put up. Yeah. Um, yeah. Uh,
All right. So I
yeah,
know
the
you're,
resources are all out there. It's like anything, like you can do basic work on your car now thanks to YouTube. So you can do an audiobook thanks to YouTube.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Before we wrap up, I
Mm.
know that you're incredibly busy. So if they want to hire you when you have the availability, where should they go to learn more about you and your work?
GrahamMack.com. GRAHAM. So GRAHAM and Mac MACK. GrahamMack.com.
And I'll make
And
sure to
there's
have that in
There's
the,
interviews with authors on there.
yeah.
There's most of the audiobooks I've done with links to Amazon if you want, and so you can listen to samples. And I've broken a lot of them up on the website into different genres. So if there's a particular genre that you write in and you wonder whether I'll be right for it, that genre might be one of, because I'm pretty sure I've done every genre. I can't think of a genre I haven't done, from science fiction to romance to religious, anything, a science fact. And there's one released today is about the future of AI and Digitally Curious, it's called, by Andrew Grill. It's a really nice book. So there's all sorts of different things on there. Have a listen and see if it's the kind of thing you'd be looking for, you think would work for your work. Yeah. GrahamMack.com.
Okay, and I will have that in the description of this episode. Graham, always great to talk to you. Thank you.
You too, Danielle. Thank you.